one quick announcement I want to do, actually two quick announcements I want to do. So the first one is that the videos on my channel are designed for people who wants to learn and not those who wants to get the quick win out of something, or the quick dopamine hit, or the quick tool, or the quick etc etc etc. So I want the guys who stay here to actually learn something and not to pretty much give me the tools and get away. So the second announcement is that if you appreciate our work here and what we do and what I do, feel free to become a patron and subscribe to my YouTube channel, because that way you help me a lot. And actually, by going and becoming my patron, you're gonna get added to a lot of tools, including my Shadowburn Packer, which we're gonna maybe integrate for our custom agent. Okay, with that being said, let's do a little recap of what we did before. The things we did is we used Medusa as our template agent, and this template agent, we trimmed it a lot. So what happened is that on my Kali instance here, I have generated a Medusa beacon, and on that Medusa beacon, I stripped the code to analyze how it worked, and then I modified it to just to be able to perform a check-in action. Now in Mythic, we have different functions that are super important, and one of the important functions is actually called check-in. Now, each function we have to pretty much get along with the template of Mythic. So in the docs, they described how exactly we have to use the check-in command, what format we have to send and receive from and to the Mythic server, and pretty much we have to get along with that. But in a nutshell, the check-in is actually identifying the hostname, and then what it does is it sends this data across the network. Now, how does the Mythic communicate to its agent and to its server? It engages with its own UUID. So as soon as you generate a payload or a beacon, you can pretty much go on the one we generated, then go to the actions, and then you can generate on click on where was that? Details. Yeah, exactly, details. And on the details, you can indeed see the UUID. So that's the one thing we need. So as soon as Mythic generates a beacon, no matter if it's an Apu, Medusa, Athena, Freya, or any other beacon, you're gonna have your own UUID, which is unique to your beacon. So if we generate a new one, or if we take a look at our previous ones, you can indeed see that the beacon is, the UUID, sorry, is completely different. Now the UID is important because this way we can use this UID for development purposes. And if you pay attention the last time, we copied the UID into my command VM machine, and we use that in order to communicate. So here on my, that's the medusa.py, but what I believe, yeah, pretty much that's it. So on the medusa.py, we have the same UUID, so B59E, B59E, yeah, pretty much the same one. So we paste the UID here, and with that our configuration is done, and now we can pretty much engage check-in action. And as far as I believe, if I run this code, it is going to create a check-in action, so instantiate a new beacon every 2 seconds. In that case, it didn't work, so I need to cd into the desktop, run the command again. As you can see, no output, which is good. I'm gonna cut the command now, go back to my Mythic, and indeed see some callbacks. Now, of course, these callbacks are not actually functioning, but we are doing something. And now the main part for the stream for today is to actually move away from Python and start to do some things in PowerShell. So we want to replicate that thing, but in PowerShell. So let's do that. Now the first thing is obviously I want to make a copy out of that. So I'm gonna go to my desktop, and here I'm gonna do new folder, and then let's call that, if it works, of course. Come on. new folder. I'm not sure why it's not working. Never mind, let's do it like that. cd desktop, mkdir, and agent. Nice. Now let's actually close VS Code. Let's move medusa.py to agent, and now code agent. Yeah, like that. All right. And now we have the medusa.py here, and just to be sure, just to be sure that we have transferred the correct version of that, because we did that like 1 week ago, I want to actually open up on your terminal, and from there do python and then medusa.py. When I verify that there's a beacon, yep, it is, then I can stop and move on. Now here, of course, the easy thing would be here to ask ChatGPT to pretty much convert the whole payload into PowerShell, but we're gonna try to read it one by one to actually engage with the code, see how it works, and try to replicate it. Alright, so here we have one class, and this is pretty much the constructor of the class. So when the class is instantiated, these values are all populated. But in that case, I believe just for testing purposes, we can actually try to not use that, to not create a whole client, a whole class, but then after a time we can build onto that. So the main thing here is to save these variables right there, and to actually, now is the time to convert them into a PowerShell. So then I'm going to create a new file, which is going to be called agent.ps1. All right. I'm going to install the PowerShell language. All right. But I think it's PowerShell v7, which is .NET with PowerShell Core. And for our beacon, I think it makes most sense if we have the option to switch between the PowerShell 7 or PowerShell 5, something like that. But never mind, I guess for now most of the code will be exactly the same. So what's gonna happen is I want to save these variables, these things into variables. So actually, let's do it in a class. I think it's gonna save us more time. So I can open my Firefox. Of course, the update is there. Now go to PowerShell classes. Well, I want to find this class constructor, PowerShell. Yeah, that's what we want. Okay. So we have class. In that case, I think the name does not really matter, but I guess in that case is Medusa. Let's try to be the same. And after we get the PowerShell to work, we can try to modify some of the values. So we're gonna go with class Medusa. And now the Medusa class, these are the functions. So we have 2 functions, 3 functions, 4 functions, 5 functions. And here is the constructor. So pretty much these here are the values we need inside. So I'm gonna actually copy them here. This did not work in PowerShell, but never mind. It's temporary either way. So here we have string server, then we have port, then we have post URI, Oh, that's all string. And that's int, by the way. Now that's string. Then we have AWOT UID. All right. Do we need to include same commas? No. All right. Then we have headers. All right. Then we have the UID, which we need to populate after we get a check-in. So string UUID. And why I have a bad format here, I'm not sure. And why the string here is green and here is blue? I don't get that. Do we have some mistakes about it? Doesn't look like it. Never mind. So after the headers, we would want, actually, I'm gonna actually paste that here. So headers, after headers, we have int sleep, and so Mythic supports, actually the coding template is capital letters first, which is nice. Then we have, yeah, that's okay. Then we have jitter, which is again integer. Then we have the due date, which can be date time, I believe. Okay. Then we have the encryption key, which is string, I believe. And that's Medusa specific. We can, of course, play with that. And at first, it's not actually needed to perform encryption at all, but let's just copy it how it is now. And it's actually an array, I believe, a hash map. Or actually, it's not hash map, but a key value pair of some form. So we have a key, value, key, value, key, value. Yeah, never mind. We're going to play with that. Then we have Boolean. So I'm not sure what that's about, but we'll see. All right, then we have string get URI, string get parameter, okay, and then proxy host, proxy user. So pretty much all of that is not needed anymore. Then we have string proxy host, string proxy user, proxy pass, and lastly proxy port, I believe. Yeah. Okay. So now we have all the class values that we actually need. We don't need that. Also, we missed the dollar sign here. Okay. And that's our class. And now in the class, we of course have to define the constructor. So in that case, this should be exactly as the same as the class, which is Medusa. All right. And now then we do this dot server to be, and now again we need to copy the values. So actually we're gonna need that. So here I'm gonna paste the values once more, and now it's time to pretty much paste them. So like that. Do we need to again include commas? No. All right. Then we do this dot port is equal to 80. This dot post URI is equal to data. what UID is equal to that. So this is the UID which Mythic generated before. Paste it. Then this UID is equal to empty string now so far, but we're gonna populate it later. Then we have this dot headers equals again that thing. I'm not sure if that's gonna work because actually we can try single quote here. Yeah, we need to see how to pass PowerShell headers, but it's not a big issue there. Then we have this dot sleep is equals to 10. This dot jitter equals to 23. This dot fill date equals to, I think date format can be parsed like that in PowerShell, but let's see. We have this dot enc key is equal to nothing so far. Let's try it like that. Let's do this actually exchange check, which is false or 0. This dot get URI is equal to index. We have this dot get param is equal to q. And if you have faster way of doing that, just hit me up in the chat. And then all the rest are just empty string. So this dot proxy host equals to empty string. This dot proxy pass equals to empty string, and so on. Okay. Now we can delete that again. So get rid of that. Okay. Now the sleep is equal to 10. That gives you an error. The assignment is not valid. What? So the sleep is integer, as is the port. The port is all right. Oh, we have a commas. Yeah, sorry. Good. Okay, so I'm mixing languages from time to time. Then we define Medusa new, and we can try write host Medusa actually. Can I do like in C#? I can do like var agent, or actually I can do Medusa agent, and then write host Medusa dot proxy host. Maybe. Is it that how I define how I access the whole thing? To be honest, never did class in PowerShell before. Don't you have examples on how you can access? Yeah, so B is equal. Oh, yeah. I'm still getting bad with the syntax. Yeah, okay. So B dot server, maybe. And it's no. Yeah, sorry, I'm a little bit burned out. Okay, that works. Good. Now, since we have the base class, which has all the options now, the next thing would be to, of course, mimic more functionality from here. As mentioned, all we need is actually two functions. One of them is the exit, which is self-explanatory and easy to write. And of course, the next one is the check-in. So that function here. So in that function, we have a data. That data is Base64 encoded and then encrypted and sent. Now, of course, we're not going to encrypt anything now. but we're gonna try to emulate that with invoke web request, see how to perform a post request and pass the data out. So first we need to do is to actually build the message of the data. And how we can do that is, of course, first we can define a function inside our main class. So here is the constructor, but now we need to add functions. So function checkIn, and I believe it is yeah, it's small case. I don't think that matters, but let's just be like how it is. Okay, let's see how the functions are documented. So we have the class, we have, or we just defined the function name. Yeah, okay, so you mean something like that. Okay, good. Okay, now on that check-in, what happens is that this identifies the host name. We're gonna hard code it just to save time and see how it works. So we're gonna use hard coded name, and then we create a data variable. So I guess now is the time to go and read PowerShell post data variable. How we can assemble that in PowerShell. PowerShell create post data. Oh, it's kind of the same. It's kind of the same. So we can go like that. That's inside the function itself. So post data, or actually we can call that data because it's data here, just to keep it very, very alike. And now here we have to replicate all of that like that. Can I paste it? Actually, I need to remove this thing here, I believe. So we have something equals something. Okay, then we have something equals, and that fixes it. Yeah, okay. Do we have commas? No, we have semicolon. Okay, then we have the IP. And here, where is the IP from? Oh, from here, yeah, of course. Of course. And then in that case, it should be the IP of the server, which is that. Okay, we have the OS would be equal to Windows 10. Actually, I can do that. I can simply replace it with semicolon and do like that. Now is here, instead of that, I can again replace it with equals. That's how we can save up some time. Like that. I think that's all right. So, and here we have to do it like that. And we're gonna delete this one here. Okay. Now the PID is one, of course, demi data, and now we have the payload UID, which is in the class. Okay. Now how to reference things like that? PowerShell access variable like self. Maybe if I put this here, and then I can try this dot paywall to UID, maybe it would work. What I can try for sure is actually try write host data dot action. No, I can't reference it like that. Okay, so let's get back to the previous example. We have data in such format. Now what we have to do is to base URL encode that and then send it with prepended UID. And in theory, it should work. So there's one thing we have to mention here, and that's the Base64 format of PowerShell is actually a little bit different of Base64 format at all. And now we have to choose the proper encoding so that our Base64 PowerShell functions do not break the whole application and actually sends with the format we can understand. So for instance, we can do PowerShell Base64 function, or actually do PowerShell Base64 encode. Yeah, so it's either Unicode or UTF-8. I'm not sure. So pretty much we can test it out. I can open PowerShell window here. Then, of course, Notepad, paste it, fix the brackets like that. Or actually, I don't want this text, but what I want is ipconfig. Then after I run it, I can try to copy the text and do PowerShell -e, paste it, and it worked. So let's see if we go to Base64 the code, if it's going to actually read it. So I'm going to paste it here. I'm going to give the code. And as you can see, we have miss characters there. So what I think we should do is do, instead of Unicode, do UTF -8. I think it was like that. No, it's not. Maybe only UTF-8? Yeah. Now what happens if I do the code? We have ipconfig. Can I execute it like that? We can't. So that's the fucked up part, because we have to find the spot where it's also decoded here, but it's also executed on the PowerShell. So I'm gonna minimize Notepad for a second and try to find a solution to that. That also looks promising, by the way. And didn't work. Okay. Hmm. I'm very sure that what with what I'm holding to go here. And so here it's Unicode. Hmm. Okay, this works. And then let's hope that this can be decoded. Alright, so maybe the UTF here is different. We can try not ASCII, but UTF, what was it? Yeah, 16. Okay. Didn't work as intended. What about Unicode? Or AutoDetect, maybe? So we can try to implement that. And let's hope that it's going to work. So what I want to do is first create a very simple wrap-up function with that. So here I can do the actually Base64 encode string. Naming variables is always the worst part. Actually, let's call that text. And here we're gonna pass the text like that. Return actually Base64 text is equal to that, and we have to return that here. Okay, now why do you complain? Variables is not assigned in the method. Okay, I'm not sure what that thing is doing, so we have to Google that. Hmm, that's why, because I'm inside a different function. We can call it like that, and now I think should be fine. Invalid return statement within a void method, so we have to do most likely string like that. Yeah, it's okay now. Good. So that returns the base64 value, what we want. And now what we have to do is to encode the payload to UID plus the JSONified data. So I now have to see how to do JSON in PowerShell. PowerShell create JSON object maybe? Yeah. Oh, so we have the same syntax. So I'm going to try to directly pass convert to JSON. So here, this is the data. And now JSON data is equal to data pipeline convert to JSON. So what we can do is actually write host JSON data, and we can test if that thing works. So that's okay, that's also okay. So here I want to do agent dot checkIn. And I guess I have to specify the agent itself here because it's this. I'm not sure. Let's see. I didn't do OP in PowerShell before. I guess it works. Actually not. Oh yeah, it works. It works. The first write host is from here. So I guess it should work in theory. Yeah, so let's do it like that for better format. Yeah, action check-in, domain commando, all data is parsed, which is nice, and this looks like a valid JSON. Alright, so now we have to base64 the payload UID, or should we? Yep, we have to base64 encode the payload UID plus the JSON dump. Okay, so in that case, let's try something like final data is equal to, actually, let's do it super simple. So base64 UUID is equal to base64 encode, and here I can pass the payload UUID. So in that case, is this dot payload UUID. All right, I can try to write host that just to see if it's gonna work, and it's not. So why? Oh yeah, here is why. Oh, because I need to specify this. Yeah, I started to get it. Okay, so now if I want to base64 decode that, we can see the payload UID. Sweet. Okay. Now the JSON, actually base64 JSON is equal to this base64 encode, and here we can do JSON data. Now write host base64 JSON just to verify it works. Okay. Now I can try to decode it again. Looks like a valid thing to me. And then what we have to do is to do final data to be equal to base64 UID plus base64 JSON. And now let's do web request. So what we can do is do PowerShell post with data. And we can directly copy and paste that. So invoke web request, URI is going to be, let's just first hard code it, HTTP here slash, I don't know, index. Let's see how it does the post request. So the post request, yeah, the post URI. Okay. So that's the get URI, but what we need is the post URI, which in that case is the slash data. And then the body is supposed to be final data. And that should be it in theory. What if I run it now? Okay, the remote web server is giving us an error for not found. Let's see if we have something. Nope. Okay, so it gives us 404 not found. Here all the Mythic services should be up and running. They are. So let's investigate that. 404 not found. That's the post method. The post method's data spat is supposed to be slash data. Okay. So let's see how Medusa does that. We also have to specify the headers. Okay. Maybe with headers. These are headers. Maybe. Still. Oh, actually. I guess there's a strict syntax about PowerShell headers. But yeah, they also have to be like that. Or we can use the .NET Web Client for that. Okay. So in that case, the headers are supposed to be like that. And actually, yeah, that should be fine. Okay, we're back. Yeah, so Twitch decided to kick me out of my stream. Not sure why, but that's what happened. And now we have to set proxy. Following the documentation. So request set proxy and request set proxy host to that. Now let's try again. We have, oh, wait. Why do you even write in such HTTP engine there? So what's the issue now? E136. What? Here. Why it's so damn hard to set up the proxy with that thing here? Don't tell me you work without that. It does. Oh my god. Alright, then let's try to manually do that. So here we have the let's try again. Still didn't work. Oh, because the port is not 80, it's 8080. My bad, my bad, my bad. Turn on the interception, execute it, and still nothing. Oh, because we don't get to here. Okay, so what we have to do instead is to go to the class and inside the class modify the values. So on the constructor, proxy host is 127.0.0.1 and the port is 8080. So in theory, yep, there it is. Okay. It took me a while to actually see how Medusa handles that. Okay, so let's see what that works now. What does that do? So if I run the request, we can see as the response some JSON file. Sorry, Base64, but now let's actually work with that. So I want to decode that as Base64, and we have the same thing. Huh. Let's now drop the request. Now what we have to do is actually use the PowerShell thing IWR proxy, and then compare and analyze the requests. Come on. So in that case, the proxy is here. So 127.0.0.1. And then we have to do, oh, it's like Python, okay. Okay, that should be enough. So in a nutshell, if I run the PowerShell thing, so agent.ps1, I should still get a request. Yep, there it is. Okay, let's drop that one here and let's compare and analyze them. So the second one, we have 100 continue, but the first one, we have a JSON file. So obviously that's the issue. Now what's the difference? We have the host name is the same, I believe. That is the same one. Now the font, I know the font is too small. Let me try to fix that. So board settings, we can also search for font. Oh, there it is. Let's go with 80. Too much. 60 and dark. Okay. Now let's see. That's the first one. That's the second one. I don't need that. And also like that. Okay, now let's compare the thing. We have bigger Base64, not sure why. So let me try to actually decode that. So, yep, there it is. We have a different format. That's why it fails. Most likely that's the reason. Even though we have the data, the format is bad, so that's why it fails. So what we can try, what we can try to do is modify the Base64 versions to be, instead of Unicode, to be UTF-8. Okay, now if I run that again, actually I want to send this to repeater, send it, and in theory it should work. In theory we have to have a check-in now. There it is. We have our first PowerShell check-in. Don't mind if it says same Medusa. Of course we're gonna not go nice content, not cool to vape, by the way. Yeah, I know, but I mean, what else to do? I don't drink, I don't do other stuff. Someone always anyone has to have some bad habit, right? I'm joking. Of course, if you don't smoke, that's even better for you. But some guys like me like to smoke shisha. So, but I really enjoy you enjoy the content. And now we have our first PowerShell check-in. And now if we pay close attention to that, if we go back to the, I believe that's the one. Yep, that's the one. If we decode that, we can now see a new UUID. So is the different one. So this one ends with 75F, and this is our initial UUID. So that's where we have to actually get the UUID, save it into our class, and then use it for further actions. So if I, in theory, spam this request, we can see a lot of callbacks being engaged. And that's how we perform a callback from our PowerShell script, which is super nice, and we have a lot of progress. Nice. Phew. Now, since we know the base structure of the thing, and by the way, we have to now get the response and operate with that. But now, since we have the base structure of the thing, now we can start building on top of that. Because now we have the base of our PowerShell agent. We have the class. Of course, we can modify that code to be better and to better handle things. But we perform a check-in, which was a super huge progress for us. Now, in the next part, we're gonna fix the code a little bit. We're gonna make it more, let's say, stable, interactive, and how it should be. And after that, we're gonna try to implement the other thing, which is the get tasking. And after the get tasking, we can finally start issuing some commands. And also we have to implement encryption. So we have a lot of things to do, but I guess that's so far a nice progress we have. So with that, I'm gonna once again say thank you to all your attention. I hope that was useful to you. So I know that coding in real time is not that much for fun because we have to debug, we have to see what the structure is, we have to probe, try, make an error, and continue all over again. So that's not the most fun thing to do, but I think it's useful and rewarding. And as you can see from week to week, we have more progress in our beacon, and eventually we're gonna end up somewhere in the near future. So thank you so much once again. If you enjoy the content and if you have further appreciation, don't hesitate to become my Patreon. There you can get access to Shadowburn as well as other tools. So thank you so much for watching and I will see you in the next Monday. See ya.